Welcome to Ignite Intimacy, a podcast exploring intimacy, romantic relationships, sexuality, and everything that relates to these hot topics. We're going in. Are you ready? This is your host, Lora Aisha. Let's do this. Hello, Ignite Intimacy community. This is your host, Miss Lora Aisha, and we have got another powerful episode here for you. We're serving it up. I've got Miss Lora Haddock on the line with us today, and we are going in on a conversation about prioritizing women's pleasure, gender equity, entrepreneurship, sex toys, robotics, the yes and the no, the whole world of creating something that is cutting edge, that makes large organizations uncomfortable. And we go into a bit about how Lora's product that is coming out this fall won an award by the CTA, which puts on the Consumer Electronics Show in Las Vegas. And then after she was already given the award, they actually rescinded the award based on the context of her product, which is a hands-free pleasure toy for women. So we are talking about some juicy, timely topics on today's episode. And stick around at the very end. We've got another sweet, sexy poem from Noelle. So lots of love to you all. And here we go. All right. Well, here we are. Miss Lora, what is happening? We got two Loras on the line.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
See you. Well, I guess nobody gets to see you. I get to see you, but
I know we're recording. Sometimes we'll do video recording when the Wi-Fi is good and, we've got a good signal and I'm not in some little town in Mexico or talking with someone across the globe. So it's great to see you. It's always a pleasure. I just actually had a face-to-face meeting here in Buffalo for the company that I work for. And I said, it's always great to meet people in person when you can.
Yeah.
It's that face-to-face physical. You get to know people, you get a sense of who they are. And so it's really great. And all right, this is awesome. So Lora and I discovered Lora because were you at CES? Were you actually there?
We kind of, yes and no. We were at one of the press release shows just outside of CES that works in tandem with CES called Showstoppers, and they're put on by the IHS Market Innovation Awards. And so we decided we're going to go anyway. We're going to go make our splash and drop a big PR bomb at the same time.
So tell us a little bit. So Laura's freaking queen, doing it. And she's running a business. You've raised over $1 million for your company. You are activating on a really high level. You partnered with the University of Oregon's and engineering department. We'll get into more of that. Anyways, you're I'm is badass the word I want to use? I really want to say you are fly, girl. You are fly. Okay. That's what I want to say. You are fly and on fire in the best ways, and you're disrupting the space. And anytime you get shut out of a space, it means you're doing something that is disrupting that space.
Rocking somebody's world.
So we got connected because I had just attended CES, and that's a consumer electronics show in Las Vegas. And that was in early January. And I came across Lora on Instagram, and I saw this really interesting post about how you were banned from CES, or they wouldn't let you, I don't know, some craziness because of your product and all this. So anyways, will you just give us a little snapshot into that before we go into your product and blended orgasms and pleasure and gender parity and all of that fun stuff?
So I think the takeaway here is that sex tech technology that is created with human physiology in mind, particularly sexual technology, is worthy of innovation. So we applied for an honorary innovation award at the Consumer Electronics Show for 2019 in robotics and drones. No, this is not a drone. It just happens to be that, it is a robot. So they put them both into the same category. We are one, not both or the other. So we submitted our sexual robot to the Consumer Electronics Show for 2019. The Consumer Technology Association, the CTA, vets your company. They vet the product, and then they go, yes, this is clear to go towards the judging panel. The judges judge it, and the judges, these experts in robotics and drones, were like, wow, this bitch knows what she's doing. And they gave our company, our product an innovation award.
Ooh.
And mind you, it said in our application, very first line, it said, produces a G-spot and clitoral blended orgasm. It said orgasm. So about a month later, the CTA somehow realized that it is a product for, vaginas. And they took it back. They sent us a message because we were trying to get space on the exhibitor floor and said, well, we don't allow adult products on the floor. And we said, well, there are adult products on your floor.
Absolutely.
Right. And then they went quiet for a couple of days, and suddenly we got an email stating that our product and or company was 4 particular things: immoral, indecent, obscene, and or profane. And all I could think is, what is profane about?
Oh, wow. A woman's pleasure?
I mean, come on, give me a break. Yes, women's pleasure, or people with vaginas, they get to have pleasure too, not just males. And it happens to be that they already had a couple of companies that had some products there on the floor that were strictly for the male gaze within pleasure tech. They were explicitly sexual in nature, one being a VR company that actually shows VR porn. And a little bit of hilarious insider information there is we actually had somebody go to their booth and they asked this person, do you want the male or female perspective? She said, wow, I want to see the female perspective. So she put on the headset and she saw 2 women getting it on. So apparently that's what they think all women want. So additionally, another company actually had an android, completely exacerbated looking woman, like basically a Barbie doll. It was just tits and a head. And she could change her face, change her accent, and she did sexual favors. But
wow,
it was obscene. So we thought that was pretty biased, and we put up a pretty good fight about it. And at the end of the day, they still said, no, now we're taking your award away, and now you're being banned from the show. So,
oh my gosh.
That's when I did my finger steeple of evil contemplation and said, what can we do with this? And I happen to have an amazing PR team. And so we strategized this entire thing, and we did a PR drop, a leak the day before the CES show started. And it nearly drowned CES out because it just went viral. I mean, so many publications picked it up. We've had over 200 pieces of coverage just on the story alone. But what that did for us was it enabled us to spotlight the lack of gender parity within technology, and particularly, really, the fact that the lack of gender equity is absolutely systemic throughout multiple industries. It allowed us to bring that conversation to light. And additional to that, we were able to really fine-tune our social mission and pursue becoming activists within the space. So originally, most companies, if you're going for profitability, you're very concerned with profitability. It allowed us to actually create this social mission and put that social mission that is rooted in gender equality and equity, in women's health, and in advocacy for the LGBTQ communities. It enabled us to take that and put it on equal footing with profitability. So we're driving that mission just as hard as we're driving our product.
That's amazing. It's so awesome in life when some whack ass shit happens and then out of it comes like the power and the truth and the beauty and the fuck yes.
Yeah. And what's funny is I'm a part of an accelerator group in Portland for female-facing CEOs, entrepreneurs, and founders. And when we presented this to them before we did the leak, they were just like, one, astonished, like, wow, this is like, we know this is a thing because we all deal with it, but wow, holy crap. And two, like, yes, you go and you stick it to them and you make a huge big deal out of this, but are you terrified? And we're like, what do you mean? Well, aren't you terrified that somebody's going to pull your funding, that people are going to call you bitchy and whiny, that, you're going to get a bunch of backlash? And our response was, of course we are. We know that's going to happen. Like, we're running those risks, but I am damn tired of being quiet about having to be quiet.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I'm being afraid to speak to what's actually going on. Right. And like we said at the beginning of this conversation, you're hitting the mark when big organizations like CES and this, whatever the acronym is for the award giving technology organization, you're hitting the mark when like those folks get, all uptight and like, oh my God, and just the stark contrast between male focused pleasure and female focused pleasure.
Yes.
And what's so great is there are some really incredible, powerful female founders who are disrupting the sex toy space. And I was, lucky enough to sit in on a panel that you all did at South by Southwest. And we've featured Alex Fine, the podcast, and we've featured Lauren Winiger and Sustain's founder. Her name is slipping my mind at the moment. I mean, we've featured some really incredible female founders. This young French Canadian woman with Desirables. She founded a porcelain-based sex toy company. I mean, it's like so awesome to see women just, bringing it with the fullness and saying like, enough is enough.
Yeah, we're sick and tired of this. I mean, we've been watching, and a lot of these women are in my age bracket too. We're definitely an interesting generation. We realize that, we've watched the way that advertising and marketing and product development has happened for particularly since I watched it in the 90s, a lot in the 90s and early 2000s. And we shame companies for using women's sexuality to sell their products, but they have nothing to do with sexuality, but we're also demonizing female sexuality at the same time.
Yeah.
It's the Madonna whore complex. We can be sexual when it suits men, but we have to be chaste when they don't want to be distracted. So we're tied up in the sexual appeal of men, no matter how you slice it. But we're not actually invited to the table to talk about it. We're meant to be where we're told to be. And the fact is, I'm sick and tired of buying products that are designed for men. We were talking earlier about French writer and intellectual and existentialist Simone. God, I can't remember her last name. Simone. I have it. What is it? It's Simone de Beauvoir. And she said, and I love the way she puts this, representation of the world, like the world itself, is the work of men. They describe it from their own point of view, which they confuse with the absolute truth. And we're just as guilty as going along with that. We've gone along with, flak jackets, like bulletproof vests that are designed for men. And you know what? Women die in those because they're not designed for their bodies. Everything from the way that the iPhone fits in your hand, or an iPhone or an Apple Watch fits with your physiology. It's meant for men. And all of these products we're creating are for men. And it goes from nuances as to being irritating all the way up to being life-threatening. The way that we approach women's health is the way that we assess women's health is geared towards how we think men's health needs to be assessed. The way that we, the way that we approach women that are in pain. We treat them like they're crazy, or they're frenetic, or, oh, she's just PMSing. Like, give me a break. We deal with this stuff on a daily basis, and to marginalize that is absolutely ludicrous. So, and this goes all the way up the ladder to who's making the decisions at that table, and why are they at the table in the first place? And it's, it's the way that we've systematically created these groups and these boardrooms and these C-suite level spaces it's because we're doing this around homophily or androcentrism. So homophily is like when you do something or you make a connection with an individual based on the fact that they look like you and they think like you and they talk like you. And then guess what? We hire those people because we feel comfortable with those people. And those people sit up at the highest echelons of our businesses with a whole bunch of other people that look just like them. And then what do they do? They make products for people that look just like them. And then we miss out on a huge demographic of people that don't look like them, of minority folks, of LGBTQ community folks, of women, period, in general, all women.
Of disabled,
Yes, of disabled folks. I mean, one of the things that actually filtered into part of my design was taking into account that I want disabled people to be able to use this. What's the ease of access, the ease of use? And for people that have problems with their hands or have pain in their hands.
Yeah, any type of arthritis, any type of deformities, any type of, if there's paralyzation in the body.
But I mean, all these marginalized communities have so few products because we don't allow them to design. We don't allow them to make decisions about products that are going to serve a very large community. And I'm done with that. And we've created a company that is really rooted in inclusivity and is really rooted in these values of respect and empowerment and integrity. And one of the things that we really try to make sure that we do when we hire is we hire for a skill set. We hire for a need, a position that we need filled, and we look at those skills. We don't look at the way, that person's background. Sometimes we don't even look at their education. It's, do they have that skill set? Maybe that person
and
couldn't.
The energy.
Like, you don't know what it's like to grow up. But if they can come in and get the job done because they know what the hell they're doing, like, I don't care what you look like. As long as if you get the social mission, if you're a good fit with this company, that's all that's important to me.
Well, it's breaking down those barriers and saying yes to, what's good and right in the world, and actually seeing beneath the surface and generating from there, from the source of something, from the grit and the soil and, the energy of something and someone. So I'd like to dive into your products and this whole conversation around blended orgasms and women's pleasure.
Yes. So like I said, like we're in keeping with being wholly inclusive, we generally kind of use the terminology just people with vaginas, because to us, gender is fluid, and we want to make sure that we're not missing out on any of those folks. We've got a very diverse team. One more thing to speak to diversity is, we can talk about it all day until we're blue in the face about creating these spaces, but until you create a safe space for all those folks, and until you can sit down and truly understand where they're coming from, like, you can send out invitations, but people are not going to come to your space until you truly make it safe. And that means you need to understand them and be truly empathetic and understand where they're coming from. Because, like, I can't pretend to have walked in somebody else's shoes. And that also is in keeping with how we created this product. So with what happened was I had an orgasm. I had a really fucking insane, drop me on the floor, off the bed, feet still on the bed, staring at the ceiling, completely lost my mind kind of blended orgasm. And I laid there and I was like, oh shit, how do I do that again?
And were you alone?
No, I was with a partner, and this particular individual just happened to know what they were doing. Go figure. And I didn't know what was happening until it was too late and I had already fallen on the floor. And I kind of looked and was like, oh crap. Whoa. Okay. I need to recreate this. And I also have an obsession with human anatomy and physiology. I've been in healthcare for about 10 years. And I really wanted to understand what was happening on a physiological level. And what we're doing is the clitoris is actually much bigger than most people really understand. We're stimulating the glans clitoris, which is that little bit that you do see, and then the Grafenberg spot or the G spot, which unbeknownst to most people, is actually a part of the clitoris. It's made up of the same erogenous tissue as the clitoris. So the clitoris is actually about the size of a halved avocado, and it's kind of shaped like a wishbone. Actually, that's what my director of marketing says. It's shaped like a wishbone. I think it looks like a pterodactyl. So behind the pterodactyl is this bundle of nerves that butts up against the anterior or the front wall of the vaginal canal. That's the G-spot. So we're stimulating the glans clitoris, the little bit that you do see all the way to the inside of where that bundle of nerves is, where the G-spot is. When you stimulate both ends of the clitoris at the same time, then you literally have this like mind-blowing orgasm, which is what I did. So I immediately was like, how do I do that again? Like I started looking for products that could do that. And I couldn't find any. Couldn't find a single one. I didn't want a vibrator. I didn't want a rabbit. And I always laugh because that was a big thing for Sex and the City when they discovered the rabbit. Oh, do I have something better for you now? So I started thinking about how I would design something like that. And I started realizing there are three like key points that I wanted to build into this product. One, it had to utilize biomimicry. I wanted to eliminate vibration in order to create biomimicry, or the mimicry of human motion. So it would feel like you're with a human partner, not just vibe. Second, I needed to make something that would actually, that would actually fit multiple people. I wanted something that wouldn't just fit me. I didn't want to create something that was just mine. Like that was the problem I had. I'd buy products and be like, this doesn't fit me. Like who are they building this for? So and then the third thing was I wanted a product that was completely hands-free. So in order to get the information and the data that I needed in order to design something that could fit multiple people and thus become hands-free, I had to go ask people, where's your clitoris? Where's your G-spot? What part on you look like? And I literally had to have, it started out as just small conversations, and it grew into a survey, and it grew into me talking to acquaintances and anybody that would listen. And what I figured out is that everybody wanted to listen because it's kind of a taboo subject. And secondly, everybody wanted to help. And then third, everybody wanted one. And I was like, wow, really? Everybody I talked to was like, well, are you going to really make this? Can I have one? Like, if I do this, can I get one? So what we're doing is we're actually going inside the vaginal canal. We're expanding to maintain a hands-free platform. And we've created so you can actually hinge it over the top of the clitoris. So it creates a seal with the clitoris. And we're utilizing micro-robotics to create biomimicry, or a sweeping motion that looks like come hither. And we are fluttering air using a very interesting methodology and creating a thudding sensation throughout the body of the clitoris to create that blended orgasm. So yeah, when I was actually designing this in mind, I had somebody ask me, hey, it sounds like you have an idea for a product. I was like, I don't know, I'm not an inventor. But if I did, this is how I would do it. And that's kind of what got us off the ground. And
that's amazing.
Yeah. And I ended up founding the company in October of 2017. So we're about a year and a half out, and we will have product on the ground at our 2-year anniversary, which is mind-blowing. It's breakneck speeds.
That's so exciting.
Yeah, we're stoked. And
I want one.
It was amazing, but it's been intense.
Wow, that's incredible. That's incredible. And it's like your product isn't even out yet, and there's so much energy around your company.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's, like I said, that was definitely part of our strategy, because we didn't want to be quiet about anything like this. And I've had a couple of moments where since CES, where I've been in a position where I've felt that kind of stringent, oh, don't say anything. You don't want to be like the whistleblower. You don't want to be, the person rocking the boat. And I had to think on that. I had to really meditate on that. Is that really, that's who we are? It's not who we are.
Yeah.
Who we are. Yeah. We are the people that are blowing this up. We are the people that are fighting for change.
That's right.
And I'm putting myself in a pretty gnarly position. But like at the end of the day, those feelings of not being heard, I realized that that kind of anxiety that you feel when you're afraid to pipe up and say something, that was the kind of shit that we wanted to battle in the first place. So it just comes back to our values and our mission. And I'm like, shit, this is what we were here to do. So let's keep going. And it happens on a daily basis. But having those values in place, it takes a lot of the guesswork out of making those hard decisions.
Well, it's the foundation, right? It's the foundation from where you work from, and it's your North Star. It's your guiding light. It's like, what are the things that are guiding me and us and this vision and this company? And what I think is so interesting is like, you're like, I'm not an inventor, but I've got this idea.
Yeah, that's exactly how it went. I was like, no, I don't know what you're talking about. So, and it's what we're really excited about. It's not just this product. It's not just OSE. And we actually have a pipeline coming. We've got three products that we've engineered in-house that are coming out very shortly after OSE. Which I'm pretty excited about. So we're creating what's called our Real Feel line. And Real Feel is that hands-free technology that we're creating. And what we're hoping to do is down the line, we want to pair that with VR interactions for people with vaginas having an intimate interaction in VR. So creating an SDK or a software development kit for our product so other companies can license our product. But we've got a couple other products in the pipeline along with some lifestyle. And what we're really trying to do now is I want to see something like this go mainstream. This isn't just adult to us. And that's part of our mission, is bringing that conversation up a level or two or three and realizing that there's nothing wrong with your body. There's nothing wrong with your sexual drive. And there's nothing wrong with how you view sex and sexuality or wrong with your gender preference or any of that. It's fine and it's beautiful just the way you are, and we can talk about it. It's natural. Right. We do it. It's how we procreate.
Yeah.
So, our big goal is to just really reduce the stigma around that and eliminate it eventually. And
that's awesome.
Positioning us in a space where we can do that. That's why we want to be in the mainstream space. So we actually we'll be launching a pre-sale this summer. We should have announcements about that coming up, which we're pretty excited about. So
definitely let us know.
Yeah. Actually, if you sign up for our newsletter on the website, that group of people will be the first people to know when we're doing our pre-sale.
Great. And so the website address
is www.LoraDiCarlo. It's LoraDiCarlo.com. So you go there, you sign up for the newsletter, and we're starting to get our social media and content creation off the ground. I always say that it's kind of like sitting on a rocket ship and drinking from a fire hose while you're trying to make a peanut butter and banana sandwich.
Oh my gosh. Well, because I know Alex Fine from Dame was talking about how, and a lot of us are aware of the challenges with doing advertising through platforms like Facebook and Instagram, and they're really strict about anything that has to do with sex, sexuality, orgasm, pleasure.
And you know what they're doing to the sex educators right now, right? I mean, basically there's this kind of soft gag order on sex educators, on people that are just talking about sexual education and enlightening people, like this stuff like vulva art, and teaching people that everybody is truly different and that's okay. And the fact that the clitoris is much bigger than most people assume. And places like Instagram, they're shadow banning them. So you are going to see their content less and less and less. And it's affecting these educators so much that they're deleting their entire accounts right now. And it's just censorship. That's all that is. These are people that are trying to literally teach people about sex and about their bodies, because we don't do it in schools.
We don't most of us don't get sex education until we start being sexual. And then we put ourselves through our own education. And more often than not, it is messy and filled with, shame,
horror,
trauma, and
so much shame.
Yeah. And,
shame.
And I mean, it's, I've talked about this a handful of times before, but it's like, I couldn't even talk about masturbation until I was almost 30,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah. And even
and
then it's still like some people are okay with it and some people still aren't. And it's that shame.
yeah, yeah.
Um,
Well, and then also some people, I had no idea there were some people who have never had an orgasm.
yeah. Yeah.
Like
It's
grown
actually surprising.
adults who've never had an orgasm, who have never self-pleasured. I was like, what?
I have spoke to women in their 50s, their 60s, and their 70s. And I've met people in all age ranges that have never had an orgasm. They're afraid to touch themselves. And like I've talked to women who like, yeah, I didn't actually like take a mirror to that thing until I was like 40. And I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
that's
Mm-hmm.
that's a little nuts. So I mean, and then we like these young women, like particularly young female facing folks, are so expected to be like perfect and chaste and prudent when they're growing up. They're supposed to be perfect little ladies, and then the moment that you get married, you're expected to be a total like slut in the bed and know everything, with the
Mm-hmm.
bedroom. And
And,
it's like, where are you gonna get
and
that education?
and same for men.
Yeah.
It's like men are just like supposed to know how to pleasure a woman.
Mm-hmm.
Some men do, and lots of men don't. And
I would argue a lot of men don't. I mean, it's also like there's a huge there is a lack of that education, and now we're censoring it, and that's I mean, all you're doing is creating a bigger job for me. Don't think that we're not.
we're tackling this stuff.
We're
Well,
coming for you.
well, I mean, Laura, what a pleasure. I'm just so grateful and stoked on meeting you and discovering your whole business and your story and your mission. And like, I'm really inspired by you. And I want to encourage everyone who's listening to this episode, check out LoraDicarlo.com. It's LoraDicArlo.com. And you can sign up for the email list, which will notify you about the launch of Osei, which is coming. Hands-free, baby. Blended orgasms. It is coming.
Yes.
Just like we will be.
Exactly. Okay, I wasn't going to say it, but you just did it.
So hop over to LoraDicarlo.com. We'll have that link in the show notes. And just as we're wrapping up here, is there anything that you want to either encourage our listeners to do? Like, is there a little kind of challenge we can give them, or a takeaway that they can take into their lives or into their bedrooms? And
Yes. Okay. So, I mean, for the women that want to start their own businesses and they're afraid to break into the space, you're going to get a lot of shit. That's going to happen. Just don't stop. Don't stop for anyone. Find your allies. Don't ever be quiet. You fight hard, and you get there, and it's pretty incredible, but it doesn't ever really get easy. But if you've got your sights set on being something bigger than where you are now, just fight hard for it. And you will find the people that understand your mission and your vision, and they will side with you and they will help you reach that.
That's right.
As long as you don't give up, all you have to do is take that first step. Now, where sex is concerned, I would really, if you haven't grabbed a mirror, go ahead and take a look at that thing. I honestly don't do it enough. Like, guys get to look down and they're like, oh yeah, it's like, it's right there. I would take a mirror, go ahead and explore, and even like figure out like what I'm going to be asking this at some point. I'm going to be asking our larger crowd, like, what's your CV distance? That's your clitoral to vaginal ratio. Find out like, where is your clitoris in relation to your vaginal opening? And then honestly, get your hands in there and see if you can find your G-spot. It feels like a squishy walnut. And if you do it just right, you probably won't do as good as Osei. But if you find that just right, then you could actually squirt.
Nice. Yes. All right. So we're going to do some motivation, some, energizing. If you are out there and you have an idea and you're like, but I'm not an inventor, I'm not an engineer, I don't know what the next 20 steps are. Just get your booty out there. Do it. Take the first step. and know that all the resources are there. I always think of Napoleon Hill's book, and he talks about Henry Ford. Henry Ford didn't know how to build cars. He had a vision, and he brought together all the best people to build cars, right? So that's exactly what you're doing here, Lora. And then also, like, if you haven't, get into your safe private space, grab a mirror, take your hands, explore your body, know your body.
There's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with that at all. Like, you should know your body. I mean, like what the back of your hand looks like. You should know what you look like down there. You should know what your vulva looks like. And you should
Absolutely. Yeah. And if you're not, that's okay. And just keep doing it. Yeah. Get familiar. Let's get familiar with ourselves, And check out LoraDiCarlo.com. Osei is coming, people. So get ready. Lora, what a pleasure. Thank you so much for being such a warrioress goddess on this life journey. I can't wait to see you again in the flesh. There's more to come here for sure. And stay blessed. And we're rooting for you all the way, baby.
Thank you, Lora. It was really good to see you. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, my pleasure. And who knows, perhaps we'll have you again, and when closer to the product launch.
Oh yeah. I'd love a survey. So how many of you had an orgasm in the first 5 minutes? Anyway, hey, you have a good one. Thank you so much for having me, and we'll talk to you soon.
Yeah, thanks, Ignite Intimacy community. Love, love, love. And we will see you on the next one. All right, y'all, you heard it here. We are keeping it real on Ignite Intimacy. That's how we do. That's why you check in week after week. So I'm curious, who will take on taking some time and taking it to the mirror, giving ourselves the opportunity and the space to lovingly explore our bodies. So I want to know who's up for the challenge. And thank you so, so much for tuning in with us for another episode of Ignite Intimacy. It is such a pleasure to be here with you week after week. And we definitely want to hear from you. Give us a shout out, hello@igniteintimacy.com, or holler at us on Instagram @Ignite Intimacy or Facebook @Ignite Intimacy. And we've got another juicy poem coming up for you now from Noelle. And thank you so much for being. Big love, stay blessed, and we'll see you on the next one. Ciao for now. Mwah.
Confessing to truth. I faced off with it and said, I have something to confess. Truth nodded. Truth was compassionate. I cleared my throat, looked around, and leaned in. People say they are devoted to you. They seek you, that you set people free. But I don't know what the hell they're talking about. I confess that I don't believe in you. I am sorry. Truth sat silent. Truth grabbed me by the hair, hard, intent, opened up my neck, kissed me over and over, cried at my breast. You have no idea how lonely I have been, is what Truth said. Nearly everyone holds me as though I were a noun, but I tell you, I am a verb. Few want to know that. I nodded. I was compassionate. And then Truth made me go down, where I happily stayed a long, long time, to be taught the dance, to warm up and rub what is even bigger than truth. It was there that we conjugated the entire world, and no serum will get me any closer than that.
Thanks for tuning in to another conversation on the Ignite Intimacy podcast hotline. We love that you choose to spend your time with us. Check us out at igniteintimacy.com. Subscribe to us on iTunes and leave us a review and a rating. It helps more people know about us. We love to hear from you. You can email us with questions, comments, or suggestions to hello@igniteintimacy.com. And tell your friends. Music was arranged by Jason Pfaff and Mike Corey, and this podcast is produced by yours truly, Lora Aisha. Thanks again, and we'll see you on the next one. In the meantime, let your light shine bright and ignite your intimacy.